Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Down by Contact Football, DBC Football Podcast, episode number 15. Thanks for joining us and coming back. I'm here as always with Tom. Tom, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Okay, no one cares. Bill, how about you?
Greetings and salutations. I'm well.
Right. Tom and Bill both here with me. I'm Dylan. I'm doing swell.
No one cares.
I was waiting for it. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. Check us out on YouTube, DBC Football, or out on the web, www.dbcfootball.com. We really appreciate you joining and listening, and make sure you subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher.
And everybody cares how I'm doing.
That's true. You're correct, sir.
I do what I can.
All right. Well, let's jump on into it.
Let's do it.
It's been a fun week off here. You know, get back into the swing of things. Let's talk about the news around the league. First and foremost, NFL.com has a new webpage.
It does.
It's pretty fancy.
I'm not sure if I like it.
Oh, you just hate change.
I do.
It's actually much more user friendly. I love it. I
just gotta get used to it, and I'll be okay.
For a guy that goes on NFL.com about 30 times a day, works for me.
That's why I don't like it, because I've gone on it so much. Now I gotta pretty much relearn every in and out of the website.
So it's not that you don't like it; it's that it's
just
changed.
learn it.
You're not yet used to it.
Yeah, I'm not used to it.
I mean, but how many websites they change formats, they change things. You know, you get used to it.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
Early reports for me is I like it. You know, it's much more user friendly. All the things you need are right at your fingertips. Not that they weren't already, but just a little more intuitive. So, good job, NFL.com, where I frequent. I'm also drinking cucumber water. That's a thing. How's that make you feel, Tom?
Sounds gross.
You're gross.
Thanks.
Okay. Speaking of you being gross, the police have dropped the charges on Lucky Whitehead, Cowboys wide receiver, or should I say former Cowboys wide receiver, one day after they cut him. He was able to prove that he wasn't anywhere near where the larceny occurred, and he, I believe, wasn't even in the state at the time. So, the Cowboys went ahead and cut him anyway, and very bullishly, Jerry Jones 6 times repeated himself the same little spiel about they're standing by their decision to cut Lucky Whitehead, and Jason Garrett gave the media his 8 times. His rehearsed statement on them continuing to support their stance of cutting Lucky Whitehead. I find it very interesting that they put up with so much from players over the past few years who have done some pretty terrible things, and then they finally get a guy who's telling the truth and didn't do it, and that's the guy they cut. Thoughts, Mr. Cowboys fan?
We talked about this earlier.
Oh, I know we did.
We're also talking about it now.
It has a... It's a little bit more than just that. I don't think he would have made the team to begin with. So
was this a football decision?
Partially.
Can you say that you believe that this was a football decision?
Partially, not fully, but partially.
Do you believe that had it been someone that they would like to have kept, that they would have waited to see what the actual outcome was?
Probably.
For example,
that's what I'm saying.
If a player on the team broke a dude's nose and left him in a pool of blood, would they have cut him?
Depends who it is.
That was a very specific example for a reason.
Yeah, that had detail.
Well, obviously they would not cut him.
Right, and that's my point, right? I mean, that's... Hey, Jerry Jones, he's always said that he's a fair and honest guy, that he treats every player on his team the same, and, actions speak louder than words, in my opinion.
So do you also agree that they would have saved a bit more face? Not that it's necessarily that big of a black stain on, their managerial whatever, but if they just would have waited to see how it panned out, that in this case it would have turned out that he did nothing because he did nothing, but waited to see if he in fact actually did it, then you can cut him, or wait till you get to the point where you would have cut him otherwise.
It would have looked better,
right,
for them to do it that way, but
and I absolutely,
the inevitable, really.
I absolutely sympathize with the guy. Lucky Whitehead's statement that it crushed him. So he's been there since he came into the league. It's only a couple years. He's 25, but for him, the guy he felt crushed, and he's like, they basically told me I was a liar and cut me, and they didn't have my back. I think that says something, and I think free agents shouldn't go there. That's what I think.
Not like we had the money anyway.
Got nothing to add to that.
All right. It was a fun little dig at the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was.
I'll take those when I get them. Like, maybe if their star running back gets a speeding ticket at 100 miles an hour.
We've all been there. Not the actual ticket part, but
an eventful week for Zeke Elliott back there, back in the rear view.
Yeah.
We'll see where that suspension comes in.
We'll see.
We shall see. Hopefully the guy turns it around. I mean, he's a phenomenal talent. He's got to stop.
Tony Romo thinks he will.
Tony Romo does think he will. It's true. I read that on NFL.com.
Surprising that you read something that Tony Romo said.
The newly revamped
Proud of you.
NFL.com.
The newly revamped. Bigger and better. All right. Offensive center Brandon Linder of the Jacksonville Jaguars has signed a 5-year, $51.7 million with $24 million guaranteed deal. He's the highest paid center in NFL history, and Pro Football Focus ranked him as the number 5 center last season. So, came in as a rookie and played guard, played excellent. Second year, a lot of injuries, last year, 2 years ago, didn't play all that much. Last year made the transition to center for the Jaguars and ranked as the number 5 center in the league. Do you think that warrants a $51.7 million deal from the Jaguars?
I mean, having a good offensive line helps you in a lot of ways. So if you got even a player that shows type of you got a player that shows any type of talent and on the line, you pretty much you have to lock him up.
Yeah. For me, it's bigger than that. It's actually the Jaguars re-signing a player they drafted.
Doesn't happen too
who ranked in the top 5 at their position, and now they were savvy about it, signed him now. If they waited a year, 2 years, that deal would have been a higher number if he continued to play that well, obviously. But I think the Jaguars have made a savvy move here. Good for them.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if he actually listens, but Jake, good for them. All right. The Dallas Cowboys, another bit of news here for them. They re-signed La'el Collins to a 2-year, $15.4 million extension. You can make the case that he's worth far more than that. Still only 23. He's already a pretty good player in his own right. Would have been a first-round pick in the 2015 draft. However, he was sought after to be spoken to by the police in connection to the murder of a 29-year-old woman, and therefore fell out of the draft completely. Proven innocent.
Yeah.
Cowboys signed him.
To be fair, the police did say he was never a suspect. I'm pretty sure it was his ex-girlfriend, so that's why they talked to him.
Yeah, I mean, always whenever it's, whenever there's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, wife, it's always, they're the first person of interest. They're
Absolutely.
the person you talk to first,
Absolutely. You got to feel for the guy.
Yeah, unfortunate for him that is the case, but
I'm glad he
that allowed him to pick where he wanted to go. Like, he wanted to go to Dallas, which I don't understand that at all, of course, but then again,
faulty logic.
I'm also not a football player, unfortunately.
Hey, if someone was throwing millions of dollars at me, I don't care where I'm playing.
This is also fair.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, I think he would have preferred that first round money that he would have got otherwise.
Yeah, because even with this signed extension, I believe he comes in just under what he would have made had he originally signed a first round deal coming out in the 2015 draft. So, Cowboys are holding on to that core of their offensive linemen. We'll see if La'el Collins can slide over to right tackle and make the transition. And
I'm hoping this contract means they're seeing some good things out of him.
That's probably what it does mean. Former NFL quarterback and Madden coverman Michael Vick is working as a coaching intern with the Kansas City Chiefs. He said he wants to be a coach. Andy Reid's helping the guy out. Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
Good for him.
Yeah. Andy Reid takes care of his guys.
There was that flag football league
where he just completely
and Michael Vick just destroyed everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's still a freak.
He's a very athletic guy.
Yeah. Arm and legs.
Mm-hmm.
The Miami Dolphins have added some depth to their cornerback room. They have signed Bucks bust Alteron Werner, who's 28 years old. Famously signed a very large deal after leaving the Tennessee Titans to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and was just terrible. The Dolphins brought him in to add depth, and they also, in a subsequent move, placed linebacker Koemisi on injured reserve, which I think is the bigger bit of news there. Koemisi was probably going to be a starter. Now the Dolphins will have to rely on their second-round pick, Raekwon McMillan, to step in and start as a rookie.
Now, is he out for the whole year? Is it one where they can bring him back like every 8 weeks?
That has not been disclosed, as far as I know. But I would imagine it's for the year. So, but they've got Alteron Werner now.
They do.
So, Antonio Brown could have 400 yards against them should they meet in the playoffs this year.
Not unattainable.
Not unattainable. So, it was the first bit of interest that Alteron Werner has had since he was released in, I believe, February.
Yeah.
So, good for you, buddy. Wide receiver Andrew Hawkins has retired. The 31-year-old spent a few years in the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes before stockpiling a few years with the Bengals and putting together some pretty good film, where he went to the Browns and had a career high of around 900 yards. It was 890 something. In his first year with the Browns, of course, the Browns have been infusing a lot of young receivers into their team, so he became expendable. He was cut and signed with the Patriots this offseason. Wasn't likely to make that team, and he said he announced his retirement on ESPN and said that he felt like he was out of shape. He actually
say that's probably what it was.
Yeah, he actually just earned his master's degree in sports management from Columbia.
Cool.
So Andrew Hawkins, he's a funny guy. I've enjoyed watching him over the past few years, and good luck to that. Good luck to that fella.
Yeah. The
New Orleans Saints have put linebacker Dannell Ellerbe on injury reserve and have announced that they will release him when he is healthy. He is 31 years old. He was notably acquired by the Saints in the Kenny Stills trade. So clearly looks like the Dolphins won that trade.
A little bit, especially since they also just re-signed him.
They sure did.
To a contract that he probably would have received a lot more if he signed elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Eagles.
That is true. I believe he signed for somewhere around $11 million in that range.
Yeah, about there.
Yeah. So the Saints, Mickey Loomis, not doing a good job as a GM.
No.
They are constantly.
They had Drew Brees making $40 million 1 year.
Hey, we'll see. Gary Kubiak, who recently retired as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, has rejoined the team, and he will work as an offensive scout. Oddly enough, his son will report to him. 2 of his sons work for the team. But he will be he'll kind of have a special position where he will rank and scout the top 100 offensive players in the country for the Broncos. So, Gary Kubiak and John Elway, they go back to their playing days. They both are very much Denver Broncos through and through. And good for him, He's got those complex migraines that force him to retire from coaching, but clearly the guy loves football.
It's a little less stressful of a job for him.
Yeah.
Still keeps him in the
somewhere John Fox is
football.
grimacing.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
I had to sip my cucumber water. Robert Griffin III is working out for the Los Angeles Chargers.
That is a fact.
Shall I go get a jersey made? What do you think, Bill?
For all of us.
No, I assumed you already did.
Is RG3 done? Is this going to work? Is he going to go back up Phillip Rivers?
Probably not.
I called him a flash in the pan back when he was still in Washington.
Yeah.
He never adjusted his game.
I've yet to be proven wrong on that.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the follow-up Johnny Manziel story, right? I'm waiting for it to
They
be
had a story like a week ago.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Did he work out for someone? I hadn't seen that.
Supposedly teams were interested.
Oh.
Or thinking about trying.
So his agent is lying.
Probably.
Okay.
But it was on NFL.com.
Yeah. Des Bryant in the news. You know what Des Bryant had to say? I'm sure you do.
He represents the star better than everyone.
Not that story. I wasn't even going to touch that one. Des Bryant has said, and I quote, "Cowboys are SoCal's only team. Does Des Bryant know that Southern California is not Dallas, Texas?"
Yeah, but they have a...
that should be the headline.
Training camp there.
Yeah.
Southern California. The southern part of California.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a city in Southern California that now has 2 teams.
There you have it. See, Bill knew where I was going with this. He was able to put it together. Just geography and such.
Right.
I feel like Des Bryant just says stuff.
Probably does. Yeah.
I think he needs to just
he
play
loves
football.
The Cowboys.
Does he?
Wants to hype them up.
I think he loves money.
Well, who doesn't?
It's true. I love money.
Yeah.
Well, I love the things that money buys.
It's true.
But whatever. So no, Des. Not only are you not a SoCal team, they have 2 that are not the Cowboys.
Not only are you not SoCal's only team, you're actually not any of SoCal's teams.
Yeah. Dwayne Brown, a story we talked about a few weeks ago. Dwayne Brown, the left tackle for the Houston Texans, is officially, air quotes, holding out. He didn't show up to head off to training camp with the team. He wants more money. I don't think he'll get it. Moving right along. The Indianapolis Colts have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
First-round pick Malik Hooker is going to start the year on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list. In addition to that, which, oddly enough, that's teams that didn't draft Malik Hooker, that was their concern, that his hamstrings are just going to get hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. In addition to Malik Hooker, Andrew Luck will start training camp, let me correct myself there, on the physically unable to perform list. We said it a few weeks ago, this shoulder injury is lingering out there, and no one really knows what's going on. Now, they did say, GM Ballard did say he believes that Andrew Luck will be ready for the start of the season. I don't know. Bill, what's your take on how the Colts will do if Andrew Luck's nowhere to be found?
If Andrew Luck's not there, unless they have a miracle quarterback that just comes out of nowhere, I don't think anyone's anticipating that.
Is it back up now?
Oh boy, you got me on the spot there.
Right. It's not something that anyone should expect.
They will call Matt Hasselbeck back.
They're not going to make waves in the AFC. I think even with Andrew Luck being there, I mean, obviously the guy is a talent. It's hard to get past that. I think that race between him and RG3, I'm pretty sure he's winning. Just putting that out there, but that injury, if you don't get that corrected, how far is he going to go anyway?
Yeah, it's dangerous stuff, and man, the AFC South is really for the taking, right? You got the Jags on the rise. The Titans are on the rise.
All with young quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. It's Houston is a quarterback away. I mean, the number 1 defense last year. That division's up for grabs, and no Andrew Luck, no Colts playoffs.
Nope.
Man, I'm really perplexed right now that I can't think of who the Colts backup quarterback is. I'm just gonna pretend it's Jim Sorgi. Going back to the Peyton Manning days. The guy was like an 8-year backup and never saw the field.
Nope.
Good for him.
We will figure it out.
Tamba Hali, Twitter firestorm. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs outside linebacker, former Penn State player. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He's in his 30s. He only played 58 snaps combined, I believe, in the 2 games against the Steelers last year. Obviously, they lost to the Steelers in the playoffs. Tamba Hali's really, really annoyed by that. He went berserk on Twitter, questioning the Chiefs and saying some very unpleasant things about them, which, advice to anyone out there, don't do that to your employer. Not good business decision.
Say if you're unhappy with the number of snaps you got, then it's not a way to get more.
Our stats guy, Scott Tolzien, is the current backup quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. I had to get that in there.
Thought we were announcing that we have a stats guy named Scott Tolzien.
He's not here. Scott, if you're ever done playing football,
we need a stat guy.
We need a stat guy. And
we don't have any money to give you, but hey.
Exactly.
We are charming company.
I have cucumber water.
And a room that is no longer hot.
Oh, yeah, that's a big addition to the studio, the air conditioning.
It is.
For anyone listening. So, Andy Reid just said he wishes Tamba Hali didn't take that route and make it all public on Twitter. Tamba Hali felt the need to let everyone know that he wasn't drunk or high when he did it. Because, I mean, it was really out of character and very unusual for him, but he could be a cap casualty. They have a little bit of a reason now. So we talked a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys and how terrible they are.
I don't recall that.
Oh. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they signed a rugby player named Adam Zaruba. Tight end, 26 years old, 6'5", 265. Is this a story?
Not really.
Not really. I mean,
John Elway and the Broncos reached an agreement to a contract extension that will keep him as the Denver general manager through 2021. No financial terms have yet been disclosed. Clearly, I mean, he's probably number 1 or number 2 GM in the league right now. And when it's all said and done, he'll probably not only be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he'll probably be a Hall of Fame executive. So, okay. Good for you, John Elway.
He's done some good things over there.
Yeah. Ravens running back Kenneth Dixon has torn his meniscus, which will likely keep him on the shelf for a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks. Could be a lot worse depending on the tear and the repair needed. They'll know more after surgery. He's already suspended for 4 games. Really hurts his stock moving forward in fantasy.
Yeah.
So, you've got your Danny Woodhead and your Terrence West. Their fantasy value has just increased tremendously with this injury. Even if he comes back in 8 weeks, they're still going to have to give him light work. Mm-hmm. Think of the Adrian Peterson injury from last year. Speaking of fantasy, as promised, we talked 2 weeks ago about NFC. Tom and I both ranked our top 5 of each offensive position in the NFC. And then we went through our top 5 rookies in the NFC and 3 sleepers from the National Football Conference. On this edition of the show, we won't let you down. We'll go AFC.
NFC.
What?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I'm lost.
Tom, what are you doing?
I'm not listening to you today.
What are you doing, Tom? Tom doesn't know. As I said, we'll do the AFC with no surprises. If Tom starts rattling off NFC players, that'll be great. We'll just roll with it, people.
We are recording this, so
yeah.
Nah, we're good.
Okay.
These are AFC players. My mistake.
Yeah, so let's bounce some names off. I'll kick things off as I did last time. I'll give our my top 5 quarterbacks of the AFC heading into fantasy, and I really try to center this around standard scoring. Yeah, because you never know what kind of league people are in. I run a half-point PPR league. This year we're at 16 teams, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to beating Bill and Tom.
Are you?
Tremendously.
Really?
Yes.
Only us?
Probably.
So you'll be in third to last place.
That's fine. As long as I beat you both twice. Okay. My top 5 quarterbacks. Number 5, I did put Andrew Luck. I put him at number 5. I am certainly concerned about the injury, obviously, as we talked about earlier, coming off a season where he actually put up 307.7 points in standard scoring. He put up a lot of points. Obviously, T.Y. Hilton led the league in receiving yards. But I am concerned about Mr. Andrew Luck. At number 4, coming back from a broken leg, Marcus Mariota of the Tennessee Titans, coming off a season where he put up 259.94 in standard fantasy scoring. Number 3, another player who I have concerns about availability. He seems to get hurt every single season. Number 3, I have Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We shall see what happens. Martavis Bryant, Lev Bell, Antonio Brown. Need I say more? Sammy Coates. Number 2,
yeah,
Tom Brady of the New England Patriots at 258.56 in standard fantasy scoring a season ago. Obviously, he missed 4 games. Would have been over the 300-point barrier had he played all 16 games. I put him at number 2. That's probably a little bit controversial, but I put him at number 2 because I think with the 17 running backs that New England added and they have on their roster, I think they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more. I say that every single year. Tom Brady can't do this forever, but heed my advice still. He's my number 2 AFC quarterback in this coming year. Number 1, I went with Derek Carr of the Oakland Raiders, coming off a season where he put up 268.48 and also broke his leg in that game against the Indianapolis Colts, where they were up more than 2 touchdowns and he was still in the game.
Because reasons.
I have Derek Carr there. What do you guys think of that? Think Derek Carr, my number 1 AFC quarterback?
Our lists are very similar except for 1 and 2. I have Tom Brady at number 1. I like that they added Brandon Cooks. It gives him a legitimate deep threat. I think that'll just keep him up top, and he's arguably the best quarterback of all time. So you can't deny that.
You get no argument from me.
I mean, Derek Carr was instrumental in revitalizing the Raiders, who have been horrible for seemingly decades now. And
hey, they were in the Super Bowl in 2002. Okay?
Right. Okay. So 15
Rich
years
cannon.
ago, I'm not that far off. Okay, round up. But and he put points on fantasy boards. So having him as your number one, I mean, obviously Tom Brady can do Tom Brady things and very much overtake him. But
yeah,
I think that's a good list.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Why don't you run through your top 5 running backs, counting backwards?
All right, at number 5, I got Jahzzar.
Jay Ajayi.
He had a little rough start to the season last year. He kind of threw a little bit of a hissy fit, and Arian Foster was their lead back.
And they left him in Miami.
Yeah, but once he got that starting gig, he really started putting up some numbers. I think he had 3 200-yard games.
He sure did.
And,
yeah.
I mean, can't argue with that.
I had him in fantasy, and he didn't come through when I needed him. But I agree. I also had him at number 5.
Number 4, I put the return of Marshawn Lynch.
Beast mode.
I think he's in a good situation. He's got a pretty balanced attack. They have a good passing game, very good offensive line. I just think he's going to get, especially some goal line opportunities, so you can definitely get some touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They won't make the same mistake the Seahawks made.
You'll know why I'm here.
Shots fired. Number 3, DeMarco Murray. He had a very good comeback year after his down year with the Eagles. After a really good year he had with the Cowboys.
We can be angry, but we can't argue with that. He is correct.
I mean, they definitely...
No words came out of my face.
People might be worried about Derrick Henry maybe stealing some snaps, but I feel like they pretty much go with the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if DeMarco Murray does what he did last year, he'll probably get the majority of the carries.
Yeah, and he was a really sizable asset for Marcus Mariota in the passing game as well, which certainly caught me off guard. But he looked more like the player that he was, with
Dallas.
Operating in that Dallas offense where,
To be fair, he probably would have been good with the Eagles if somebody besides Chip Kelly was the head coach.
I don't disagree.
Number 2, I got Shady McCoy.
Shady.
I mean, he gives you the rushing yards and the passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have too many other people to give the ball to on offense, so
that is true.
If he can stay healthy, he should have a big year.
That's always the thing with him, right?
Yeah.
Is the availability.
I think he's missed 7 games the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to look at with both him and DeMarco Murray. They're not young.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Something to be concerned about.
Absolutely. Yeah, Murray's got to be...
He's 29.
29, yeah. Getting close to that 3-0.
And he's a bruising back, so that's even more of a concern.
And McCoy is small, so it's not hard for him to get injured when he actually does get hit. If he misses a step and he isn't able to shake somebody off, he could go down for the season quite easily.
Yeah.
Number 1, obvious choice, arguably the best running back in the league, Le'Veon Bell.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Arguably.
I mean, if he can stay on the field,
he's no LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah. If he can stay on the field, whether it's suspension wise or injury wise,
for the most part, his issue is not staying on the field; it's getting on the field on time.
It's true.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that he didn't get that deal he was looking for.
Yeah.
That Pittsburgh's really willing to gamble there. Of course, they could go the route of the franchise tag and things like that. But I also did rank Lev Bell as the number 1 AFC running back. I mean, it's no question. Even with the concerns of, I don't think there's any looming suspensions out there. At least I haven't heard anything for this season.
Hopefully he doesn't smoke any pot tonight.
Yeah, he's got to, obviously keep his head in the game. But even with the injury concerns, the guy puts up numbers. I mean, he's a freak, and he's really fun to watch, even though he went to Michigan State. I did also put him at my number 1. I also had Shady McCoy at 2. I actually put Melvin Gordon as number 3. I think he's a young up-and-comer. He had a really good year last year, and there aren't many things good happening for the LA Chargers. LA, it's still so weird. When I see the abbreviation, my mind goes to the Clippers. Yeah, LAC. DeMarco Murray at 4, and also Jahzzar at 5. So, lists aren't too dissimilar. Out of all those running backs we mentioned, Shady McCoy actually had the most fantasy points last year in standard scoring with 248.3.
Nice.
So, He's got to watch in Buffalo. Good for him, though. He's got a former Eagle running the show in Sean McDermott, and hopefully they don't let people vulture his touchdowns away, which has been the case in the last two. Mike Gillis was last year, Carlos Williams the year before. Who will it be this year? So, I'll jump into the receivers. Bill, can you guess who my number one is? I'll start with one on these guys.
No.
He plays for Pittsburgh.
Oh man, I got it. Yeah, I'm sorry. My head was a little lost. It's Des Bryant, right?
There you go. SoCal's only receiver.
Wait,
right.
Are we starting to throw in NFC players now?
You didn't catch the joke.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, for our fantasy season last year, the number one overall pick and the number one overall pick in a lot of fantasy, actually, the other fantasy league I was in is Antonio Brown. Obviously.
Who had that number one pick in the league that we're in together? Who won the combine?
Some cheater.
That's defamation.
Fun fact, real quick, just in my other league,
Lawsuit.
it was a woman who had the first overall pick. However, they figured out but she was not paying attention and it just auto picked Antonio Brown.
Interesting.
She wanted, I think, Jamal Charles because she's not very smart. But
that's fair.
She got Antonio Brown and was complaining, and people were like, "You got Antonio Brown."
Yeah. How did that work out for Jamal Charles?
Right.
Yes. Yep. So Mr. Antonio Brown, who had a whopping 201.3 points in standard scoring, he was my first overall pick in the draft last season. Number two, I'm going to put the reigning receiving yards leader. I think he, as long as Andrew Luck plays, right, there's a little caveat there, but T.Y. Hilton for me, the guy is capable of scoring from anywhere on the field at any time. And sometimes he returns punts if your league is into the whole giving points for punt returns. Yeah. Number three, I went with Amari Cooper. I think he takes a little bit more of a step forward while Crabtree takes more of a step back. Cooper's the up-and-comer. Crabtree's getting a little bit older. I think Crabtree still vultures his touchdowns. But I like Amari Cooper to have a big year. Number four, I really struggled with the back end of the AFC wide receivers. Number four, I went with Jarvis Landry. He's just so consistent. He's not really flashy, and he's not going to put you 15 touchdowns, but he's going to get you between 5 and 10, and he's going to get close to 10 catches a week. The guy is he's tied the record for most catches over the course of the first few seasons, tied with his former college teammate Odell Beckham Jr. Good company to be in, and I don't see any reason why that consistency stops. So you want a safe pick, go Jarvis Landry. Number five, I again struggle with this, but I had to put him in here. Brandon Cooks, New England Patriots. I think he's going to run the ball. I think he's going to catch the ball. I think he's going to return the ball. He's going to get you some fantasy points. Get out and get yourself a Brandon Cooks. Tom, what do you think?
I don't really agree with you on the Jarvis Landry standpoint.
That's fine.
I feel like if we're going standard scoring, you don't really get those points per reception, and he doesn't really score that many touchdowns. So I feel like that kind of hurts him in his standard scoring. I mean, he's definitely, in our league, have PPR or regular PPR, he's get you, almost 20 points per week, it seems like.
Yeah. In standard scoring, to be fair, he was 10 points away from Amari Cooper last season.
Was he? Oh, well.
137.3.
Okay. Well, I'll start at number 5 and go down. I actually have Amari Cooper at number 5. They added, like I said earlier, Marshawn Lynch, and they also had Jared Cook, so he might not get all the offensive snaps that he might want, but he's definitely still one of the better receivers in the league, and he should definitely still put up some good amount of points. Number 4, I have T.Y. Hilton, just because of the Andrew Luck situation. As we just found out, I don't think Scott Tolzien will really.
Scott Tolzien to T.Y.
If he's playing
bubble screen every snap.
If he's playing significant amount of time, I don't think he'll really get as many fantasy points as he did last year. Number 3, I have a bounce back year from AJ Green. He's not the most consistent week to week, but at the end of the season, he's still
I just have to get this in here. Fun fact about me: I refuse to draft AJ Green, and call me an idiot, call me whatever you want. I refuse. Last year, obviously, he was like 36 yards away from 1,000 yards and missed 4 games. But he just disappears for weeks at a time. Like, he'll have huge weeks, and then he'll just disappear, and it infuriates me. I obviously don't know the guy personally, but I refuse to draft AJ Green. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Number 2, I have Brandon Cooks. I just like the
number 2.
Yeah, I like the fit with him.
Haven't seen him play a snap in that offense.
Still, he was I think number 10 overall in.
He had 168.3 points last year.
And while Drew Brees is a great quarterback, I think Tom Brady's better. So I just think that will really bode well for him in fantasy. Number 1, obviously, Antonio Brown. Don't really need to explain that too much.
Please do.
He's the best receiver in the league.
Ooh, there you go. The former Central Michigan Chippewa.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown.
Those words.
Yeah. Okay. Bill, would you draft Antonio Brown number 1 overall? If you were the number 1 pick, or would you go wild card? Would you go Lev Bell, or would you
David Johnson?
I mean, it's a safe pick, you know.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling exotic that day, I'm like,
Justin Tucker, kicker, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, you know.
I was gonna go Adam Vinatieri, but
he's too old, man. That guy's like 79.
Still the age is wonder.
What Scott Tolzien?
Scott Tolzien.
Yeah.
Nice. We're in a 16-team league. It's going to get really desperate in the later rounds. So if you're listening and you run a late league, heed this advice.
Scott Tolzien.
Handcuff for Andrew Luck. Scott Tolzien.
If you are
round 16
willing to bet on the dark of dark horses.
Scott Tolzien. He was he played a little bit with the Packers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Tolzien.
I was thinking Patriots for a second. I'm like, no.
I mean, I'm always wary about receivers in New England. Obviously,
right.
They're
Bill Belichick hates us all.
Well, they often can be quite talented. I mean, you have Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. They're talented guys.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Chris
really,
Hogan, another Penn Stater.
It just Tom Brady doesn't usually focus in on one guy ever. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter, if Brandon Cooks. I mean, he could be the guy that breaks that mold, but I would be surprised. Everything is, yeah.
Well, once in a lifetime type of player is what
right. Randy Moss. You're talking about like Hall of Fame caliber right there. That's a little different. I don't know. We'll see. Like Brandon Cooks might get more looks than you would expect from a New England receiver, but to put him that high, I don't think I can agree with that. I mean, talent-wise, I could see it happening on another squad with another really great quarterback, but in New England, it's just...
Yeah, had he been traded to a team like, say, I don't know, the Philadelphia Eagles, he'd clearly be the number 1 option, but you get a team like New England, Josh McDaniels he's gonna kill you with paper cuts with whatever player he can.
Yeah.
It's, James White. James White's going to get 20 catches a game or two. And, so it's scary, and that's why I kept him. Like, I put him in the top 5 because I think he is
that
talented player, and he's super young. He came into the league at 20 years old. I think he's still only 23. I mean, wow. But really bright future, and I think if he's a real team player, I think he's going to really excel in New England, and he could have a really long career there.
Yeah.
So,
Trivia
but you bring up great points.
Trivia question for you.
Oh boy!
You brought up the whole Randy Moss thing. Obviously, he's the record for touchdowns in a season. Tom Brady broke the record that year, which has since been broken, obviously. After Randy Moss, who were the next 2 players to catch the most touchdowns from Tom Brady that year?
Oh, that's a good one. That would have been 2007.
2007.
I'm gonna go with Wes Welker.
It's one of them.
And 07. So we're not talking Gronk here. I'm gonna go curveball. I'm gonna go Kevin Falk.
You got any guesses?
No, I'm not. My memory is crap. So
it's Ben Watson.
Ben Watson. There you go.
Fun fact: Kevin Falk was the only running back to catch a touchdown from him that year.
There you go. Kevin Falk, man. Big Kevin Falk fan right here. All right. That was a good trivia question, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. Trying to catch me off guard there. Wes Welker was number 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would hope so.
He had like 9 touchdowns, I think. Something like that.
All right. Tight ends.
Me. Number 5, I have another bounce back year from a Bengal, Tyler Eifert. They don't really have, they added John Ross, but still they don't really have too many great options on that team, and if he can stay healthy, he's a great asset down the middle and in the red zone. Number 4, I have Jack Doyle. Yeah. If
you could see my face right now, if you're listening to this podcast still, and you can see you just imagine my face when Tom just said Jack Doyle. Please continue.
I'm saying the last 2 years they got rid of, or they let Kobe Fleener go,
and Dwayne Allen.
And Dwayne Allen go. So he's definitely the number 1 guy.
Jack Doyle.
Him and if Andrew
Major top 5 in the AFC. I don't think I'm gonna get over this. If you're listening, I'm gonna still be talking about this once this podcast is over, and I'm not gonna let it go.
They definitely showed a little bit of a chemistry last year. So if Andrew Luck can get on the field,
Tolzien to Doyle.
Hey, if it's Tolzien, you got tight end's always the safety blanket. So.
Safety valve.
Yeah.
Tolzien to Doyle, ladies and gentlemen, get it.
Number 3, Delaney Walker. They have a bunch of options out there in Tennessee now, but he's still, he's put up numbers down the middle. He's not really the biggest guy. He's only 6'2", I think, but he gets a lot of catches.
He's on the shorter spectrum of tight ends, but funny, he compare him to a former teammate of his, very much similar to a Vernon Davis type of player.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Gronk. The only reason I have him at number 2 is he can't seem to stay on the field for a full season, and obviously in fantasy that really hurts you.
Especially if you draft him in the second round.
It doesn't really hurt the Patriots that much because they still go and win Super Bowls.
Yeah, I would say they won the Super Bowl without him there.
But it definitely hurts your fantasy squad. I would know, like you mentioned.
28-3.
Yeah, does that mean anything to anyone?
Number 1, I got Travis Kelce, Baby Gronk.
Baby Gronk. Don't call him Baby Gronk. He doesn't like it.
It's his nickname.
Get over his nickname.
He's very similar to Gronk. Obviously, that's why they call him Baby Gronk. He's one of the focal points in that offense, and he's been, he can play 16 games in a season.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the more talented of those 2 brothers.
Just a tad. Right. Just a tad.
And while they both have rocks for brains, in my opinion, Jason Kelce at least doesn't, do things that get the refs to, want to throw him out of the game.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Don't lose your cool in the playoffs. Yeah. Doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, don't
just ask Vontaze Perfect.
Don't.
Oh boy.
Don't openly mock the referees. That's usually a bad idea.
Yeah.
Usually.
And that's sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what sport you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here. Number 5, I'm actually going to go with Hunter Henry for the Chargers. Coming off a season in standard scoring where he put up 93.8 points, which was ranked pretty high for all tight ends already. He's only going to get better.
I'm still worried about the whole Antonio Gates, especially
Antonio Gates is 736 years old.
He is, but Philip Rivers still likes to throw to him.
He only came back this year to break Tony Gonzalez's touchdown record.
Really?
Had he broke it last year, I'm 99.9% sure he would have retired.
How many?
I don't believe it's many. I believe they're tied, actually. So, number 4, I went Tyler Eifert, coming off a season where he only had 69.4 fantasy points in standard scoring. I was really high on Tyler Eifert coming into the year. Then obviously he had the injury, and they started to compound, and he couldn't stay on the field. It was really frustrating. But if he's healthy, he's another Kelce, Gronk type, big, fast, physical target. Can really box people out and score some touchdowns. Number 3, I put Gronk there. Rob Gronkowski, coming off a season where he had only 72 points, and the team still won the darn Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Someone take the Patriots down, please.
Cowboy.
I'm actually asking no. We wouldn't want to see like a 38-3 comeback, like what happened against the Cowboys. Okay. Number 2, I'm going to go with Delaney Walker. As you said, they've got some new toys out there in Tennessee, and Mariota's looking like he's going to be the real deal. But he's built a really good rapport with Delaney Walker, so I expect him to continue a trend. He actually had 123.1 fantasy points last year in standard scoring, which is very nice for a tight end. And at number 1, the guy who I think is actually better than Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce. I think there's nothing. I mean, I think physically they're both big, strong, fast guys. And yeah, it's the offense he's in, the quarterback he's playing with. But the guy still put up 138 fantasy points with Alex Smith as his quarterback, who's not known to really
just wait until him and Mahomes are going at it.
Swing the ball around. And I give Kelce the advantage, especially over Gronkowski, who again I have ranked at 3, just because he's available. The guy's on the field when you need him. So unless he's making fun of refs, then it's a different story.
As long as he gets you some points before then he can make some fun of refs.
Yeah, and I gotta say, people's leagues are different and people have different strategies, but I'm very much against the draft a tight end super early thing. Like, I really think it hinders you in terms of getting a good running back or receiver that you could really use for the duration of the season.
Yep.
Tom would know. But I do value Travis Kelce pretty high, and in my 16-team league, I would consider drafting Kelce as high as the third round, which, if you know me, is extremely high praise for a tight end.
Yeah.
So,
if your position players just get really thin, you have a lot of people in your league, I could definitely see taking Travis Kelce in late third round.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So some people might get angry and say, "Oh, he's worth a second round pick." I will never take a tight end with my first or second pick. It'll just never happen. I like to think I'm pretty good at this. Rookies to look out for in the AFC. I'm just gonna kind of spit fire them out here. Number 5, I'm gonna go with David Njoku, Cleveland's tight end. I think he's a freak, and I think he has a chance to score some points. I'm not saying he's going to be the end-all, be-all and this next great tight end, but I think he has a chance to score some points no matter who the quarterback is. If it's Brock Lobster, if it's Deshaun Kaiser, or if it's Cody Kessler.
Watch out for Deshaun Kaiser.
Those guys all are going to need a reliable safety in the middle of the field somewhere. Yeah. And especially if Brock Lobster ends up being the guy, with him being 6'7", that middle of the field area, he likes to, he had a good rapport with CJ Fedorowicz. So I think he could be a really strong rookie in the AFC as far as rookies go. Number 4, I went with Joe Mixon, the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's probably going to be a workhorse. I don't know what that means for Jeremy Hill. It's really confusing. Darn you, Marvin Lewis. You had a good thing going with Gio and Jeremy, and now you threw in Joe Mixon. You drafted him nice and early, so you know he's going to see the field.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I think he's going to have a really decent year. Number 3, I went with Zay Jones, the wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. They don't really have anything. Sammy Watkins will probably be on IR by week 2.
He'll get hurt like a month ago.
Exactly. So, Zay Jones, by necessity, someone's got to catch the passes from Tyrod Taylor, who's been pretty solid in his own right for Buffalo. Number 2, I went with Corey Davis, the wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. They call him Baby T.O. for a reason, big physical guy. Well, I do think it's funny, that transitioning receiver from college to the pros is really difficult for these guys, and not all of them really click right away. I think Corey Davis will come in and have, at least a floor of 450, 500 yards and a few touchdowns from Mariota. And at number 1, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this, running back Leonard Fournette for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the dude's going to be a stud. I do, I have some concerns with him, and, certainly didn't want my team to draft him, the Philadelphia Eagles. We weren't in a position to do so, but I do think he's going to be a solid running back, and good for Jacksonville. They've got some things going, and I picked them as a sleeper to make the playoffs last year. I know a lot of people did, so it isn't necessarily a sleeper.
Literally everybody.
But one of these years they're going to prove me right, so I'm going to keep saying it.
Yeah.
How about you, Tom?
We have a very similar list. Only one player is different and a couple different placings. At number 5, I have Kareem Hunt. Obviously,
Kansas City, right?
Yeah, obviously they got rid of Jamal Charles.
They did?
Yeah. And Spencer Ware, he's kind of their lead guy right now, but he's has some inconsistencies.
He's really not. Yeah, he doesn't strike anyone really as a number 1.
Yeah. And
he's another player that can kind of disappear at times.
Kareem Hunt is that kind of shifty back to Andy Reid.
He's that Andy Reid back.
Number 4, I put Zay Jones. Like you said, who else is really going to...
Someone's got to catch passes from Tyrod Taylor. He's going to throw them.
Yeah.
He's going to throw some passes. He's going to run around.
Number 3, I put Joe Mixon. Obviously, Gio Bernard is coming back from a knee injury. Jeremy Hill's, kind of had a couple down years after his really good rookie year, I think it was. And
maybe he just trash talked the Browns too much.
Yeah. Joe Mixon can do it all. He's an all-around back. I know you're not a huge fan of him, but
I am not.
In a football sense, he's a very good player.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Tough video to watch.
It is. Number 2, Corey Davis, same as you. Like you said, I'm a big T.O. fan, and anybody who somewhat resembles him, yeah.
Bill, what's your opinion of T.O.?
He's good in my book.
My opinion of T.O.? He is one of the most talented wide receivers in league history, in my opinion. The fact that he wasn't capable of making the first ballot of the Hall of Fame speaks volumes of his character and the way he behaved.
Oh, thank you. I just needed to hear that.
Number 1, same as you, Leonard Fournette. I mean, he's was considered the best running back since Adrian Peterson, pretty much before, except for Todd Gurley, obviously, to come out. Dude, it's going to get the ball. They don't want Blake Bortles throwing it 30-plus times a game.
Unless he can sling it like he did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, most of
well,
his
in the offseason, he got in the best shape of his life, and he worked on his mechanics.
Yeah, like every
other player in the NFL.
But, I mean, they're definitely going to force him to run the ball, no matter how it's going. He's going to be their workhorse, so he might not be as good as last year's number 4 pick, but he'll definitely get some points.
I mean, all of our great receivers who were great last year, they worked on their mechanics, and they got a lot better.
It's true.
So
hey, what's
our elite
Nelson Aguilar.
Nelson Aguilar is going from elite to Hall of Fame.
Exactly. If you are still listening, my advice on Nelson Aguilar is if you draft him, you should not be playing fantasy football. That's how I feel.
You are just incorrect.
If he somehow ends up on your team next year, I'm never going to let you forget it. Like, if
he actually does have like a breakout out of.
I wouldn't be mad if he all of a sudden became great. I'm an Eagles fan.
Yeah, then someone's gonna have to pick him up. You'd be stupid to not.
Right.
Is that gonna happen? I mean, I'm not betting money on it.
I'm gonna go with no. Tom, do me a solid. Rip off 3 AFC sleepers, and again, as we talked about on the last show, these aren't necessarily people you've never heard of. They could be very well-known players, but when we say sleepers, at least in this context of this activity that we're performing right now, we mean guys who are going to outplay their draft position.
Yeah.
So you're drafting them a little bit later, but they're going to perform like you drafted them a little bit earlier.
I had a bunch of guys I wanted to put for this, but I obviously narrowed it down to 3. You put Devontae Parker. I believe the hype.
Oh, I've believed it every year, and it's bit me.
Well, it's only his 3rd year in the league.
Yeah.
But I like what Adam Gase is going on down there. I think Ryan Tannehill's getting better. I mean, he's obviously not an elite quarterback, but if you can throw in a little...
He's no Joe Flacco.
Yeah. I mean, with the help of Jahzzar taking some pressure off of him, he should definitely be able to, sling it around a little bit. Biggest issue is Devontae Parker, staying healthy, actually getting a playbook down.
That would help.
Yeah.
I've read that helps.
Yeah.
If you know the playbook. Ask Dorial Green Beckham.
Number 2, we talked about him a little bit before, C.J. Fedorowicz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, both the quarterbacks down in Houston are kind of inexperienced, like as far as starting games go. So going to the tight end is definitely going to be one of their favorite things to do. Number 3, I had a bunch of people I wanted to put for this, but I finally settled on Jeremy Maclin.
J-Mac. All the crab cakes.
You take out last year, the 2 years before that, he had over 1,000 receiving yards in both years. He put up some decent numbers. If he can stay healthy, I'm sure they're hoping he can kind of fill that Steve Smith role. And if he can do that, that's some good production right there.
It is.
Definitely wide receiver number third or fourth.
Wide receiver number 3rd.
Yeah.
He should definitely feel like he has something to prove down in Baltimore.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
hope so. As someone who was certainly a fan while he was here, and I have no malice to Kansas City, so I was hoping for nothing but success there, even though I wish they would have signed him to stay here, but details.
Yeah, I mean...
Chip Kelly didn't like him.
Hey, we had a joint practice with the Patriots when Darrell Reese was there, and Mr. Maclin torched him. I'll never forget reading that article. Come back. Anyway... my 3 sleepers, I went with a couple of tight ends and a running back. So I'm going to start. I went Julius Thomas, tight end, Miami Dolphins. He's obviously on people's radar, but let's not forget the last time he was with Adam Gase, how well he performed. Obviously, yes, Peyton Manning was there too. But as we know, Peyton Manning had a bit of a decline, so it's not all Peyton Manning. If Julius Thomas can put it together.
His last year was the year Manning broke all the records, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I'm saying you have to consider that as well, okay? I'm giving props to Adam Gase's offensive philosophy.
I think it was product of Peyton.
Okay.
POP, product of Peyton.
Where did he go to school?
Who?
Peyton Manning.
Peyton. Florida. Just kidding. Tennessee.
Tennessee Volunteers. I had to get it in there. Anyway, I do think Julius Thomas can really be a tight end 1 in the Adam Gase system. It's all going to come down to whether or not he wants to.
Yeah.
And then he's got to not break his fingers in the offseason. We're getting through, and he hasn't broken his finger.
At least he didn't blast him off.
That's true.
On 4th of July.
True. Yeah. Number 2, I actually, out of just considering that Rob Gronkowski is going to miss time and seeing what Martellus Bennett did even when Gronk was healthy, not healthy, healthy, not healthy, I went with Dwayne Allen, tight end for the New England Patriots. They love 2 tight end sets there, and no one does it better than Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots.
Yeah, he was one of those players that I had that I kind of wanted to throw in that 3rd spot. But.
Yeah. I'm not saying go out and draft him as your number 1 tight end, but I'm saying if he's still there in the mid-rounds and you're considering, I didn't really get the tight end I wanted, I'm a little iffy on it, pick him up. You never know if you could trade him or if he ends up being a star. Hey, go for it. I mean, he's shown flashes of really good play in Indianapolis, and I'm a fan of Dwayne Allen, so we'll see what happens. Number 1, again, this is someone that people know of. Obviously, with Kenneth Dixon getting hurt and having been suspended for 4 games, Baltimore kind of needs someone to pick up the mantle. And everywhere this guy goes, and yes, he's way more valuable in PPR, but everywhere this guy goes, he just puts up points. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where he goes.
I was considering.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where he goes. He just puts up points. I'm going to go with Danny Woodhead, and I think not only does he become an asset to Joe Flacco in the receiving game, but I think he runs the ball pretty well too. And yeah, I'm going to go.
Not sure if you recall, but when we talked about some under the radar additions around free agency time, I did include
Mr. Woodhead.
Woodhead in there.
Yeah, you did. That is true, Tom. So those are my guys. We're calling them sleepers here, but that's the guys that are going to outplay their draft position, which is a valuable thing to have, right? Without getting some of those guys, you're not going to win your league. So
you can't rely on your first 3 picks to carry you the whole.
Can't unless you somehow ended up with David Johnson and Melvin Gordon in back-to-back rounds. So.
Well, my other league, I ended up with Zeke and David Johnson in back-to-back.
Did you win the championship in that league?
I did not, but I still won lots of money. Wow. I did not even make the championship and still won the most money out of everyone.
Zeke and DJ. Yeah, so there you have it. Those are our AFC top 5, all offensive positions, our top 5 rookies, and a few sleepers from each of us, guys who will outplay their draft position. Bill, did you learn a lot? Does this feel informative?
No.
Will you take any of this information to the draft?
Will I take any of it? Yeah, probably.
So then, yes.
I mean, I would recommend it. I recommend learning at least 1 or 2 things from the show every other week until it's every week.
Yeah. So we're on the cusp here, right? Let me.
So is that the
3 weeks away?
Pull up my calendar here. We are
3.5.
Effective next week. We are back to it.
Back to weekly.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do video footage of the draft festivities.
Yeah. We got
a little bit of the combine. Throw that up on the tubes.
On the tubes of you.
I like.
Check us out. We'll have a big old party. It's August 19th. Super excited. I'm gonna win. Everyone, don't worry.
By the way, your dad's under the impression that the draft part alone took 3 hours last year.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember, but we made really good time last year. I recall that.
We got under 2 hours.
Yeah,
I recall that we made much better time than the year before.
We did. Yeah, so if you throw a draft, be cognizant of how long your draft plans take. Sometimes it runs a little long and ends up dark out, and if you're drafting outside, that can become a real challenge.
Well, when you do exotic trivia challenges that take, several hours by themselves.
Tom, where did Reggie White go to college?
Tennessee.
It's always Tennessee. Yeah. All right, well.
Where is Chattanooga?
Tennessee. I went to Chattanooga.
What non-Hall of Fame wide receiver went to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga?
I'll tell you which future Hall of Fame receiver went there. Terrell Owens.
That's fair.
That is fair. All right, well, that's our show. Again, we ran through the AFC. Next show we're going to... Not the NFC, Tom. Next show, we're going to really run through. Preseason's upon us, right? go out. Maybe you see if your team has open training camp practices. I know the Philadelphia Eagles are holding one the last weekend in July and then the first weekend in August. So Saturday of both weekends, you can go up and see the Eagles practice for free, and it's open to fans and whatnot. So should be a good time. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to partake in that. It'll really depend on the weather of the day. I don't do so well in heat. I melt.
Literally.
But we'll see. Go to your team's training camp. Go out there, have some fun.
I will. I'm going to go to SoCal.
You're going to go to SoCal and see the SoCal Cowboys.
I am going to be in the mountains.
There you go.
Well, weather dependent. If it's going to storm or something like that, I haven't heard anything like that. But you know, I won't even be able to see what's going on because the internet out there is just complete trash, which is fun by itself.
It really.